Jesse, good. How are you, dear? I don't know if you could hear me, but I did say hello. I hope you are well. Marcy, how are you? The two E's are in the house. Jesse and Marcy. And Kathy. Isn't that funny? Jesse, Marcy, Kathy. Welcome, welcome. Matt, how are you, my friend? Carol Hollenbeck, how are you? Adam Condon. Margie, how are you, dear? DB Mac, how are you? Hey, Simone, how are you tonight? Can everyone hear me good? No static, no nothing. Just want to make sure everybody's got a good connection here. Arabic! What's up, brother? There's Sonia, Jess B, Wesley September. 1 whole year, exactly, Wesley September. Nicholas Carroll, how are you, buddy? Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Hoki dokio. Perfect, perfect. I'm glad it is loud and clear. Thank you, Aeromock. You know, I had gotten out of the shower last week and I was running crazy late and I was just like, I don't have time to do anything. So I jumped in with both feet. Robert Sharp, how are you, my friend? Nexus. Mr. Sumner, how are you? There's Delirium. How are you feeling? I hope you're feeling well. San Francisco treat. Sean McCabe, how are you, buddy? So, I have got some, like I said in the title, Dogman, Vampire, Crawler, Alien, and a bunch of other things. And I have 3 Lizzo the Lot Lizard stories that actually connect to one another. They have a connection. I started 1 through 3, and I've got to read them in that way. Otherwise, they will not be good. Janie, how are you, Jane? There's the channel's godmother, Jane. Tina Marie, how are you? Thank you. Tina sent me another beautiful clock. Well, sent Isabel a beautiful clock and 2 really awesome paintings that shape shift or change color via the black light. Thank you, Tina. I will share them on Monday's upload. I was going to bring them upstairs, but I'd forgotten, so I apologize. John Collins, how are you, my friend? Bill Petrie, how are you? Oh man, the paintings are so cool. They're very unique. Very unique. And her clock, when I opened the box, see, because Belle tried to kidnap my clock that Tina made for me. And I told Tina about it. And then Tina made one for Belle. And I almost kidnapped Belle's on Belle. Arabic is a legend. He's what myths are written about. What's up, David? How are you, buddy? Love you, Tina. I hope you're doing better. I hope you're feeling better. Nothing strange lately, Matt. Sorry, I was going to answer you, but I forgot. Thank you for reminding me. No, nothing of yet. I hopefully, Turbo Christ, I hopefully can get up to where Tom Mezek disappeared tomorrow. It's supposed to be almost 70 in the Adirondacks tomorrow, so that's pretty dang good. Gavin Rogers, how are you? It got real cold last night. It's 47 right now. It got to be 27 last night, but it's going to be 70 tomorrow. So, well, I doubt it'll hit 70. It'll probably hit like 67. So that's pretty good. I'll have to look into that, David. It's perfect hiking weather. There's Jim Baker. How are you, my friend? I will be very careful. I will be very careful. It's not in Aramic's mind, it's in everyone's mind. Aramic is the man, the myth, the legend. He's as if Kung Fu continued. There's Southern Charmer. How are you, dear? Andy Davis. What's up, brother? How are you, buddy? Maggie Mayhem? SDL? Claire, how are you? Lisa Foy, how are you? Moody Bug. All right. So we will start this night off right. A lot of people talk about vampires and ask about vampires and stuff. So there's Jan. How are you? Amanda, how are you, dear? Good seeing you. I only play one on TV. I say that still too, periodically. Tijuana Border Jumper. How are you? I said it to my daughter the other day, and she had no idea what it meant. I was like, wait, there's like multi-generational gap right there. Brian Mons. How's your puck Wudgie doing today, alligator horse? All right. So this experience that my grandfather told me, so it may not be exactly accurate, but I will try and tell it the best that I can. More than 70 years ago, sorry for not knowing the exact date, my great-grandfather had died of a heart attack. He was, of course, buried like any other person. Here we have a tradition that every 5 years we lift the remains of the deceased, and the family can decide if they should put the body somewhere else or leave it there. This is mostly done to empty the spaces in the graveyard if the deceased does not have any family. So they raised my great-grandfather's remains, but the weird thing was that he had not decomposed. He looked exactly as if he had been buried just the other day. After 5 more years had passed, they went in to lift his remains again, but this time the coffin was empty. This is not how the experience ended. 10 years after all of this happened, my aunt, that was 8 at the time, was home alone one day. She had heard a strange noise in the house and went to investigate. In the kitchen, there was a strange man that looked at her and said, "Don't be scared. I've just come to see my first granddaughter." And then he just disappeared. Later that day, she told her parents, and after describing the man, they went to get an old photo album, and she identified my great-grandfather. When my grandmother tells this story, she tends to omit the last part that my aunt told me. According to my grandmother, the priest probably sold my great-grandfather's corpse because it hadn't decomposed, and she says that my aunt was lying about having seen him. And that's it for this experience. Sorry for any mistakes. English is not my first language. I think you did a dang good job writing that if English isn't your first language. How crazy is that, though? Imagine. That's a weird custom, though. That's a weird custom. Every 5 years, we're going to dig up the grave to see your deceased relative. And you dig it up. Grandpa hasn't decomposed yet. After 5 years, you throw him back in. Oh, wait, the coffin is empty. It's fucking weird, man. That's just not right. I wonder what country that is. It doesn't say. What country's custom is it to dig up the corpse every 5 years? Indonesia and Madagascar. Indonesia and Madagascar. How very interesting that is. What's up, Wiley? How are you, buddy? Yeah, it is awful creepy. That would be so gross. What's up, Tyler? Strander, how are you, my friend? Samara Osborne. Sniff it out. Outside in. Monkey crap. That's hilarious, alligator. That is hilarious. Terry Marshall, how are you, buddy? Robin, how are you? I wouldn't imagine, like, in America it's definitely not legal, Robin, but other cultures have like weird, like, that's just gross. Like 5 years. I don't even think, well, yeah, it does decompose. It probably would decompose pretty quickly. Right on, Jimmy Baker. I think I will. Brian Mons. That's a good idea. Oh, I thought you were talking to me, Aramic. Thought you were getting a little flirtatious with me. Geraldo, how are you? Do that, Las Vegas. Oh, yeah, I can just do it off the rip, off the top of my head. So, Andy Davis, for those of you that are talking about, or that can read Andy's, what's up, 007? Andy's asking about the Las Vegas one, and it's actually, there's two. There's one in Vegas and there's one in Louisiana. The one in Vegas is the woman is sitting. She's going out with her family, and she sits. They're like at a street vendor or whatever. They're eating dinner outside, and she sees this weird guy walking, and he's everything else is oblivious to him except her. She can literally see him clearly. And he just keeps walking up to her. And like, as he keeps walking, she keeps getting more chilling. He walks by her, and there's a weird kind of contact, like a weird eye contact. And he follows her after she's done with dinner. So he's like, waits, and she gets up and leaves. Then a group of them, like 2 males, 2 females, came to her door and knocked at the door. The one in Louisiana was a woman had got invited to go to a football game at the Superdome. And it was a beautiful day, just absolutely gorgeous day, warm day. And she goes there. She sees these 2 very nondescript men that are in suits. And people are like walking around them and not even acknowledging their existence. They kind of walk right up to her. And everything about them is just off. There was no sweat. There was no any kind of facial expressions. They were just very, very weird. And then she ran into them again. I'll have to dig that out, Andy. Damn it. Sorry about the cough, guys. Big John, I thought they resembled more like aliens myself. But, I mean, here's my thing on that. Oh, Brock Sherwood, thank you. I appreciate that. Here's my thing with that. I believe that all of these creatures that we know and see and have heard experiences of, I believe the tie-in is exactly alien/demon. I am 100% convinced that these demons are what we consider aliens. And they use portals to travel to different dimensions. Like area. Aramak! Thank you, brother. I believe hell is a dimension of its own. And if you ever watched Phantasm, one of the phantasms shows Reggie. I think he had crashed the Hemi-Cuda, and he sees the midgets coming out of one of the portals, and he goes into the portal, and he's in hell. So I honestly believe that these creatures use, and hell is dimensional. It makes more sense to me than thinking, the whole hell is underground. Like, I think that whole concept of hell being underground is someone saw a demon come out of a portal and it came up, and they automatically assumed because it was going down or coming up that hell must be down. I don't know if it was one or two. I think it was two, Brett. I think it was two because Reggie was older when he'd seen it. I want to start off by saying I do not want to believe any of this is real. Honestly, I've come here to share. I'm 18 years old. I was around 12 when this started. I was lying in my bed when I saw something in the window, a face. It shifted from something female to male to something deformed and terrifying. I ran out of my room and slept in the living room that night. I want to add this all up to maybe it was lights being weird and I saw something that wasn't there, except that from every night after that, I had heard tapping on my window. It was not plants, bugs, pets. I checked again and again. Every night, as it grew dark, there would be tapping on my window like a knife was tapping against it. The tapping turned into scraping, clawing noises that happened almost every night for months. I even FaceTimed friends, and they heard it over the calls. I had my parents check outside, but nobody was there. This happened for months. It was scary, but I had gotten used to it because nothing else was happening. On my 13th birthday, my best friend came over to my house for my party. We went to the backyard to talk. It started to get dark outside, and I kept feeling weird. I kept staring at the trees just outside of the chain link fence in the backyard. I told my best friend that I feel creeped out, and she said that she felt the same thing and had started staring at the same area. The next part is why I've been struggling to share this. We both at the same time saw this unhumanly long figure sprint on all fours across the yard. I mean, it was long. It was pale white and very skinny. I pushed my best friend inside the house and locked the door because I was not about to be killed by some horror movie monster. We both needed some time to calm down, and I made sure we both saw the same thing because I didn't want to believe what I had seen, but she did. Her description of the thing we saw matched mine exactly. If you'd ever Google pictures of the creature in the creepypasta The Rake, that is kind of what it looked like. After the tapping and clawing at the window had gotten worse until about a month later, when my aunt broke her arm, so I went to her house for a month to help her out. to move around and such until it healed. When I came back, it had all stopped. No more tapping, no more sightings, nothing. I am aware that this is disorganized and I am sorry, but this is the best I could do. Thank you for letting me share. Who'd I miss? Did I miss anybody that popped in while I was reading? Sugar Seas, how are you? Don, how are you? Scooby Doo, how are you? Hollow, what's up, Hollow? Is Shackleneck lurking? What's up, big fella? How are you, my brother? Family is good, Randy, man. I hope your family is doing well. I hope your family is doing well. I think it just means the amount of comments that you made, San Francisco treats. Today's your birthday, Don? Happy birthday, my friend. Happy birthday to you. Thank you for spending your birthday with us. Colin, how are you? Chef the chef. That's funny. Is it time to start the lot lizard experiences? Should we start it? Like I said in the very beginning, all of these lot lizard stories are connected, and they literally start from 1 to 3. So happy birthday to Donnie. Happy birthday to Donnie. Happy birthday to Donnie. Happy birthday to Donnie. Oh, gee, Andy. Is it like a little piece of rice grain? What's up, Haunted? Jeff, idea where the Garden of Eden would be. I guess, didn't they say the Garden of Eden would be modern day Iraq or something like that? There's something that I wanted to answer really quick too. There's another something. Kenneth, how are you, buddy? Yeah, I believe it was like modern day Iraq, or no, that was Babylon. Babylon was modern day Iraq. I don't know. Biblically, I think they don't know. I think they have ideas of where biblically would be the Garden of Eden. Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and the Euphrates. Makes sense. That makes sense. I would almost agree with that, because where they have the 4 fallen angels or 3 fallen angels, I've heard 3, I've heard 4, is in the Euphrates. So I would go along with that. Yeah. He wasn't a scientist, 555, so he didn't really know. He hadn't heard anything throughout his years of being in the agency. So I don't think anyone truly knew, to be honest with you. All right, so here we go. Lot lizard story 1. Is Janie leaving? Janie's going to bed? Or is Just B going to bed? Who's going to bed? Just B, Janie? Good night, Janie. I hope you feel better. Melissa Stock, how are you? I do, Jesse, but I can't share them. All right, here we go. This is the first lot lizard story of the night, and this is where the connection starts. The air at the Rusty Mug truck stop always hung thick, a potent cocktail of stale coffee, diesel fumes, and desperation. It was a kind of place where dreams went to die, or at least take a very long nap. And presiding over this nocturnal carnival of weary truckers and in dread was Lizzo, the undisputed queen of the lot lizards. Lizzo wasn't just any truck stop siren. She was a force of nature, a sequenced, neon tinged supernova. Her laughter could shatter a beer glass in 50 places. And when she strutted past a row of idling 18 wheelers, head swiveled like sunflowers tracking a particularly alluring sun. Her kingdom was the dimly lit aisles between the rigs. Her subjects, the lonely men who sought solace and a fleeting connection under the fluorescent glow. Her reign was absolute, her charisma weaponized, and her heart, surprisingly, had found its match in Earl. Earl was a man carved from granite and regret. He ran the night shift at the Rusty Mug, his face a road map of life lived hard. He was Lizzo's rock, her protector, the quiet anchor in her whirlwind of existence. He had seen it all, and he had seen Lizzo conquer it all, and his love for her was fierce and unyielding as the asphalt beneath their feet. Then, one fateful Tuesday, as the moon hung like a bruised peach in an inky sky, Jack arrived. He was a scrawny kid, all wide-eyed and ill-fitting clothes, clutching a worn burlap sack like it held the world's most precious secrets. He looked about as out of place as a dandelion in a coal mine. While the usual clientele was busy negotiating their desires, Jack, with a nervous energy that crackled around him, slipped away from the main thought fair and found a patch of neglected earth behind the overflowing dumpsters, a place where even the weeds hesitated to grow. There, with a furtive glance over his shoulder, he planted his treasure, a single, impossibly large bean. He didn't wait to see the results of his horticulture gamble. The sheer strangeness of the Rusty Mug, the guttural rumble of engines, and the shadowy figures, it all was overwhelming for him. With a yelp that was swallowed by the night, Jack vanished, swallowed by the darkness as if he was never existed. But things don't stay hidden forever at the Rusty Mug. That bean imbued with magic so potent it could make steel weep began to stir. Overnight it sprouted, not a sapling, not a vine, but a colossal pillar that clawed its way toward the heavens. It grew with an unnatural speed, its massive leaves unfurling like emerald sails, dwarfing the towering rigs and casting an ominous living shadow over the entire truck stop. The next morning, the world woke up to a phenomenon that defied comprehension. A beanstalk, thick as a redwood, pierced the sky, its tendrils snaking around the very stars. And when the sun fully peeked over the horizon, its rays illuminated something even more astonishing. Descending, he was a giant, not a lumbering oaf of folklore, but this creature was immense, almost sculpted physique. His skin was the color of tanned leather. His muscles rippled with a power that seemed to emanate from his very core. He was, in a word, one sexy beast. And his eyes, the size of dinner plates, were fixed with the almost unnervingly intensity on the Rusty Mug. For he had been watching from his ethereal abode in the clouds that drifted lazily above. He had been observing Lizzo for years. He had seen her command her domain, her laughter echoing in the thin air. He had witnessed her kindness, her resilience, and a longing bloomed in his colossal heart. He was a solitary giant, burdened by an eternal love for the queen of the lot lizards. He landed with a tremor that shook the asphalt, his boots the size of a small car, the truckers momentarily forgetting their hangovers, and their illicit encounters stared in stunned silence. But it was Lizzo who felt the true impact. Her sequenced heart hammered against her ribs. "Who the hell are you?" she demanded, her voice, usually a formidable weapon, now laced with a tremor. the giant, the giant, his voice a baritone that vibrated through the very air, introduced himself as Bartholomew. "I've come for you, fair Lizzo," he boomed, his gaze unwavering. "I've watched you from my cloud, pinned for you, and admired your spirit." Before Lizzo could even process this surreal declaration, Checkleneck, thank you! Before Lizzo could even process this surreal declaration, Earl's truck, a cherry red Peterbilt polished to a mirror shine, roared to life. He was not about to let some waltz in and claim his queen. "You stay away from her, you overgrown jackrabbit," Earl roared, his fists clenched. Bartholomew, his expression one of gentle confusion, simply extended a massive hand towards Earl's truck. It was a casual gesture, almost an afterthought, but the sheer force behind it was apocalyptic. With a sickening crunch that echoed across the vast emptiness of the truck stop, Earl's prized Peterbilt crumbled like a tin can. Earl, caught in the maelstrom of the collapsing metal, was reduced to a bloody, pulpy mess. His dreams and his life extinguished in an instant. A silence descended, thicker and more horrifying than the usual night air. Lizzo stared at the mangled remains of Earl's truck, at the horrifying testament to Bartholomew's power. And then something broke within her. The sequenced queen stripped off her glitter, and her mirth became something else entirely. A primal rage fueled by grief and fury ignited in her eyes. "Christy of the Battle Born, thank you so much." "You killed him," she said, her voice dangerously low. "You killed Earl." Bartholomew, his brow furrowed, seemed genuinely perplexed. He was in the way," he rumbled, his voice devoid of malice, but utterly devastating in its honesty. That, for Lizzo, was the final straw. The queen of the lot lizards, the undisputed monarch of the truck stop sin, was about to unleash her most terrifying weapon. She didn't possess magic beans or sky-high aspirations. Her power lay in raw, untamed strength of a woman scorned, a woman who had just lost everything. She didn't wield a sword or a gun. She wielded her wit, her resilience, and a lifetime of navigating the harsh realities of her world. She launched herself at Bartholomew, a tiny, incandescent spark against a mountain. She dodged his massive hands, her movement surprisingly agile, honed by years of weaving through crowded parking lots and bar stools. She climbed him like a sequenced spider, using his immense frame as her battlefield. She bit, she scratched, she screamed insults that would make a sailor blush. She found chinks in his colossal armor, the tender spots born of loneliness and love. She used her stiletto heels as tiny, devastating daggers, aiming for the sensitive skin of his ankles, his knees. She became a whirlwind of fury, a tiny tornado of vengeance. Bartholomew, for all his strength, was not prepared for this onslaught. He was a creature of the clouds, accustomed to a gentle breeze and quiet contemplation. He had expected admiration, perhaps even a little bit of affection. He had not anticipated this fury, relentless attack from a woman with such stature. The fight raged on for what felt like an eternity. The truckers, huddled behind their vehicles, watched in a horrifying fascination as their queen battled this celestial entity. The beanstalk, a silent witness to the unfolding drama, seemed to sway with the violence of their struggle. Lizzo, fueled by the grief that burned hotter than any engine, found a new level of strength. She found a particularly sensitive spot behind his knee, a place where the giant's tendons met the bone. With a guttural scream, she plunged her heel deep into it. Bartholomew roared in pain, a sound that shook the very foundation of the rusty mug. He stumbled, his massive form lurched. Seeing her chance, Lizzo scrambled higher, reaching for his face. She gouged at his eyes, blinding him with searing pain. As he thrashed wildly off balance and disoriented, Lizzo leaped with a final desperate surge of adrenaline. Using the leverage of his own colossal hand, she propelled herself forward, aiming for his throat. The impact was deafening. Bartholomew let out a choked gasp. His reign of love and terror ended abruptly. As he tumbled from the sky, a massive form crashed onto the asphalt with a sound that was both horrifying and strangely final. Silence descended once more, broken only by Lizzo's ragged breaths. She stood, a small sequenced figure, amidst the destruction, her face streaked with dirt and blood, but her eyes burned with a fierce, unyielding victory. Earl was gone. The giant was gone. The beanstalk, having served its purpose, began to ominously wither, its leaves curling and turning brown. Lizzo, the queen of the lot, won, but the victory tasted like ash. She looked at the mangled remains of Earl's truck, then at slowly the disintegrating beanstalk. A single tear glinted like a shard of shattered glass, traced a path down her cheek. The rusty mug and its queen would never be the same again. The legend of the Night Jack came with his magic bean, and the queen of the lot lizards fought a giant for love and loss had just begun. It's up late 17. So Earl is dead. Earl is dead. What are we going to do? I know. Poor Lizzo. Poor Lizzo. No. I feel so bad for her. But we still have two more to go, my friends. Jackwagon Country Gal Show. Oh, thank you, Jackwagon. Appreciate that. I literally think of like very strange names, Turbo. I sit when I'm writing and I'm like, what would like a unique name be? You know what I mean? It gets better throughout. Like I've always picked pretty interesting names. Yeah, but Lizzo has never dealt with a dead Earl. Earl is dead. What are we gonna do? All right. And once again, I'm sorry about the cough tonight. It's your middle name, no kidding. That's awesome. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Before I share this experience, I got to give you some context about my drive from home or about my drive home from work, the state I live in and such. This happened 10 minutes after I left work, July 4th, 2020. I live in northeastern Ohio, and I had gotten a new job about 2 months prior as a process technician at a dairy plant. It pays pretty good money considering it's a 34 to 35 mile drive one way. After about 20 or 25 miles, I drive through a wooded area. Nothing uncommon for me, as where I live in northeastern Ohio, forests are common. And I pretty much lived in one behind my grandmother's house growing up. I work 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. and the drive home sucks. Whether it's being tired, hungry, or the fog almost every night. I go the same way every day and night. I'm driving on my way home. I just left a residential area of my workplace and I'm going through this forested area. As I said, there's almost fog every night. So I am on high alert for deer, raccoon, and other critters. It's just like every other night. Drive home so far. I have a podcast on focused on the road, thinking of getting either a sausage McMuffin or a McGriddle from McDonald's, and sometimes looking off to the side of the road for any eyes reflecting off my headlights. When all of a sudden I see some reflecting eyes. Out of the woods comes a coyote. In my hometown, coyotes are not too rare. I've seen them by my high school, but I have never seen one outside of the hometown, so I was a bit surprised. I start to slow down as it crosses the road until it turns to look at my car and sits in the middle of the road. It sat about 10 feet from my car. There had been no other cars I had seen since leaving the residential area. So I was going to go around it, but I thought this was too odd of a thing to happen to just drive away from. I expected it to get up and walk away, given any second. This is where I began to get a very weird feeling and a little scared. I honk my horn, and after about 2 or 3 seconds, it smiles at me. I have my brights on so I can see it perfectly. This coyote had a human shaped teeth. My heart dropped and every hair on my body raised. Just now as I'm recalling the incident, it lasted about 1 second before sitting up and running into the woods. I sat there in fear for about 5 seconds before shoving my foot on the pedal and driving away at getaway speed. I didn't stop and get food because, well, I had no appetite. I thought the rest of the ride home what I had seen, once doubting what I had seen, like I said, with my brights on and it as close to my car as it was, I saw it was clear as day. This coyote had human teeth, and there was no doubt about it. I am very into the paranormal, and that includes cryptids. Is it possible that I may have ran into some sort of shapeshifter or a genetically mutated coyote? It is so weird typing this out, but I'd like someone who knew more about these things to share if they could. I know one thing, though. I am finding a new way home and a new way to work. What's up, Nancy? How are you? SDL. It's a gorilla shirt. Maggie, I'm glad that you stayed up too. Ah. Last year, I temporarily moved to Willamette Valley in Oregon to work on a vineyard making wine. We were purchasing fruit from a couple of other vineyards in the valley, and I had to get up early a couple times a week to get maturity samples. One morning at around 5:30, I was driving to take a vineyard sample across this stretch of flat land on a two-lane road. The sun hadn't began to rise, and for most of my drive, I was the only car in the immediate area. I'm driving through this field when I saw movement in the darkness coming towards the road in front of me. My first thought was it was a bird or a flock of birds flying across the road. But as I got closer and it got closer to the road, the very edge of my headlight started to illuminate it. And I realized that it was not flying, it was running. It was literally there for about 2 seconds because it came from the darkness, sprinted across the road, and disappeared in the darkness. But I remember extremely vividly that this thing was all the things everyone describes: pale white, humanoid, hairless, extremely lanky. It was running very fast, pumping its arms like a sprinter, hinged so far forward it was almost 45-degree angle from the ground. I didn't have anything to compare it. Size 2, but it looked to be at least 6 feet tall. I'm mostly sharing this because I think people need to know that these things are out there, especially in the darkness of rural Oregon. Thank you for allowing me to share my experience. Sharon, how are you? What's up, MR? How are you, buddy? It's been a minute. What can't swim? Dogmen can swim. I don't know about crawlers. I'd imagine they can. I know dogmen can swim very well. What's your normal username, MR? Oh, Rihanna, how are you? Some pear moonshine. I guess if I drank, I'd imagine that would taste good, but it's been so long since I drank. Cynthia, you're leaving? Or hi? Hi, bye. Robert, good night, my friend. I hope you're feeling better. Hi. Jamie Mullins, how are you? Oh, they swim great. I don't smoke weed. I smoke the Juul. That's about all I do. I smoke the Juul and I drink Coke. Oh, thank you, Rihanna. That's so nice. Vixen Sexy, how are you? Violent Shemp, how are you, my friend? Well, did you know, Wesley, did you know that the grenadine is pomegranate juice, essentially? Oh, I drink lots of coffee. When I wake up in the morning, I make a cup of coffee and I grab a Coke and I sit and drink my coffee and my Coke and I hit my vape and I read the news. There's some really cool news that actually going on. Sobriety is awesome. Yeah, I don't drink or smoke because I did my time. You know what I mean? I did my time. I was an addict for 27 years, so it's like 22. Yeah, 22. Started when I was 17, stopped when I was 39. Yeah, 22. So I'm good. But check this shit out. This is interesting. So something's going on in the Adirondacks, and someone got a hold of me this week, and I got to talk to them. Archaeologists found an anomaly in the pyramids that may reveal an ancient portal. In the world of archaeology, few tools have revolutionized the field as much as ground penetrating radar. This geophysical technique uses radar pulses to image the subsurface. Similar techniques have uncovered Viking longships in Norway, revealed lost civilizations in the Amazonian jungle, and even entire Roman cities without it ever putting a shovel into dirt. And GPR has once again delivered near one of the most well-excavated sites in the world, the Great Pyramids of Giza. Researchers led by Tokyo University used GPR along with a method known as electrical resensitivity tomography, or ERT, which uses electrical resistance to map underground structures to discover what is being described as an L-shaped anomaly in the Western Cemetery near the world-renowned pyramids, according to the team's research paper published in the Journal of Archaeological Prospection. The structure is roughly 6.5 feet from the surface, measures 35 feet in length, and was backfilled after construction. The Western Cemetery at Giza is known as an important burial place of members of the royal family and high-class officers. The paper reads, in the initial survey by GPR and ERT, we found an anomaly in the north of the survey site. The area of the anomaly could be established approximately, but the structure and the location were unclear. Below this L-shaped structure was an anomaly lying 16 to 33 feet down, and the researchers described it as highly electrical receptive. Such as an anomaly could have had a few explanations, but the team identified two main possibilities: a mixture of sand and gravel or sparse spacing with air voids. While we know the surrounding area, roughly built 4,500 years ago, around the same time as the adjacent pyramids, is filled with flat-roofed tombs known in Arabic as the mastaba, the stretch of sand where the anomaly was found has not been nearly as intensely excavated, largely because the area sported no impressive structures to warrant a thorough investigation. So what exactly could this L structure be and its lower anomaly represent? Speaking with Live Science, Sato said the structure is likely not natural as the shape is too sharp. It may have been an entrance to a deeper structure, Sato and his colleagues wrote in the paper. That deeper structure sounds suspiciously like a tomb. We believe that the continuity of the shallow structure and the deep large structure is important. From the survey results, we could not determine the material causing the anomaly, but it may be a large subsurface archaeological structure. We believe that there may quite possibly be some sort of supernatural or some sort of portal representation with the L object and the anomaly underneath it. There may be a tomb and then a portal. So that was in Egypt. And then this one, scientists found pyramids bigger than Giza on Mars. And this one's new. This one is not old. This is from September 23rd. The barren red deserts of Mars might not be as lifeless as they seem. A growing number of researchers are pointing to a strange geometric formations captured in NASA's image as potential evidence of an ancient civilization. In fact, some of these findings have been published in the Journal of Space Exploration, where the argument is simple. The shapes are just too neat, too geometric, to be random. Out of the best known features in this is the keyhole formation sitting high up in the Libya Mounts. NASA Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter snapped a photo in 2011, and the odd structure quickly drew attention, with a wedged-like base topped with a round dome. For George J. Hess, founder of the Cydonia Institute, the design was impossible to ignore. He's been looking at Mars for more than 30 years and says its symmetry is exquisite. To his eyes, the keyhole looks like an ancient burial site in Japan known as the Kufan Tombs. In 2016, Hess and his colleagues wrote in a research paper that this feature was too precise to be chalked up by chance. Mainstream scientists disagree, call it a trick of the brain. Still, Hess insists you don't have to be a geologist to know the difference between a rock and a sculpture. And then there's actually a little more. Parrot? No, that's not it. No, it is. And then back in 2002, another curious shape appeared in an image of the Argonne Basin. Researcher Wilmer Faust thought it looked like a bird and passed it on to Haas, who immediately saw what became known as the parrot geoglyph. With an eye, a beak, a wing, and even feathers, the outline was so detailed that Haas counted 22 points of anatomical correctness. To test the idea, 5 veterinarians, including an avian specialist, reviewed the image and agreed the form matched real bird anatomy. On Earth, geoglyphs like the famous Nazca lines in Peru often depict animals, but Hess argues that none come close to the fine details of this Martian version. Scientists, on the other hand, suggest the parrot is just another case of pareidolia, our tendency to see faces and animals where none exist. So a lot going on in science this week. Oh, there's tons of great stuff in Antarctica. What's up, Jeb? Shackleneck, thank you so much. Yeah, that is pretty amazing. The one in Alaska is pretty interesting, especially where it's located. Where it's located is the one in Alaska is where, ironically enough, there was a radiation pattern and Obama had sent soldiers out there. They had discovered a Nephilim. And that was the only time a sitting U.S. president ever visited Alaska, minus President Trump when he went to meet Putin. But there was nothing going on, and Obama just decided to go up to Alaska, but nothing's going on. That was very weird. Anybody seen 5 Rings tonight? 5 Rings, Pups, Truth Quest? We haven't seen Truth Quest in such a long time. Yeah, nothing surprises me, Violent Shemp. It's hard to even, it's like fact is more crazier than fiction. That statement couldn't get any much truer. It couldn't get any much truer. West Virginia Mountain Mama, how are you? I haven't seen Truth Quest in a long time. I hope they're okay. Zilla pops in. He'll probably pop in later. He emails me sometimes. Yeah, Sasquatch and Grandma. You're right. Krager's 57. Micro Dork. We had one of those in my town, Micro Dork. There was like 2 people that went to it. 2 people. I was like, what is going on? Like, so weird. Protest something that matters. Like, I don't know, world peace. Fucking, who knows? Insurance for everybody. Like, geez, I'm crow. And I don't get political. It's just crazy. To preface and give some context, I'm 21-year-old male who makes a habit of taking road trips across the United States and am not one of those who is inexperienced when it comes to hiking or dangerous situations. I've had people stalk my camp in Kansas and stare over my fire in Utah with a shotgun. Point being, I've had weird experiences, but none that have ever chilled me like this one. This just happened, and I want to get it out while the image is still in my mind. I was out hiking in a trail in southern Indiana with a female friend of mine. It was around 90 degrees, muggy as all get out. The trail specifically is the Three Lakes Trail, and it is a little over 10 miles long and is circular, so nearly impossible to get lost. We had arrived earlier in the morning, and so there was almost no one at the park at all, save for a few parked vehicles. We'd been hiking the trail for about 3 hours and I'd seen a soul. Usually I pay attention to my surroundings a bit more and am cautious of people just because of life experiences. But anyway, I get distracted. My friend and I were walking downhill towards the sharp left when, out of seemingly nowhere, a woman steps out from the bend and starts hiking up the hill towards us with her head down. She was average height, but much more muscular than a typical woman. She's wearing a sports bra, sport shorts, and a backpack, which left most of her body exposed. Her tattoos are what first caught my eye, all across her body, in these weird shapes and symbols that didn't make much sense. I didn't see anything that resembled a picture or English words. As she came in with about 10 feet of us, she looked up and we made eye contact. That is when everything in me just froze. Her face had similar symbols tattooed all over them and in strings all over her face. Her eyes, though, are what I'll remember for the rest of my life. They were just black sockets. And in the shade of the dense canopy, I could not make out much about what it actually was. With how humid it was that day, I don't believe that the dark sockets were makeup. And so I assume that all around her eyes were tattooed solid black, possibly. On top of this, she must have had colored contacts in her eyes, as there was no white in them at all. With every horror or cult scenario I have ever heard running through my head, and her face chilled me to my soul. I blurt out, "Good day for a hike." She looks at me with an empty stare, holds the blank eye contact, and walks by. I have never been so shaken up from running into someone on the trail before, and I hope that I never see it ever again. Long time thinking about it, and I did decide that it definitely was not tattooed after the last stare. Her eyes were not there. God dang, that's creepy. Savage lunatic. Like, that's so creepy because I don't know if you guys heard when I went up to where Tom Mezek disappeared and I'd interviewed, there's only one store up there in Brant Lake. So I interviewed the store owner. I interviewed the supervisor of the town. I interviewed one of my relatives who was under sheriff of the case and in David Paulides' movie, and a few other people. But when I interviewed the lady who owns the only store there, she told me the most freaky experience ever, minus him missing. So this was after he had gone missing, probably a year or two after, she said. She goes out to Lily Pond Trail to go hiking with her husband and her two boys. They're about 8, maybe 10 years old, about that. Not little kids, still little kids, but a decent sized kid. They start to walk down the trail, and she kind of stops her husband and the kids, because out of the left-hand side, she sees what she can only describe as a very tall man in a black suit. And it floated, essentially. It was not walking. It floated and glided right across the trail in front of them and went into the woods on the other side and disappeared. She said what it reminded her of was there was a Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV episode where these 3 or 4 very creepy looking humanoid male looking creatures with weird teeth. She said it looked just like the guy looked just like those monsters in that Buffy show. And she witnessed as she's watching him go by. The kids saw it, the husband saw it, they all saw it. She said it didn't, nothing stirred as it went over. So it would be going over the leaves, over the branches, and nothing stirred at all. So I have kind of wished to have, like, I wish possibly I can see that. That only leads me to believe one more thing, that there is a portal there. I believe that that dude came out of a portal, and just my own belief, my own thought. Slenderman! Delirium. I knew you were joking. No, but like, what's up, Neutrino Waves? How are you? M. Dane, how are you? DL Hemingway? The gentleman. Yes. Thank you, DL. But here's something that I was just thinking about as I'm sharing that experience. I talked about the movie prior, Phantasm, Reggie, when we were talking about portals. Holy shit. The way she described the guy almost looks like the tall man. And we love you, Neutrino. And we love you. Wiley, I don't know. Desio, how are you? Soft drinks are bad for you. I got my one vice. That's my soft drinks, and I need them. Craigers, it's right here, buddy. It's right there. There's the play button, Craigers. Craigers like, you get that play button yet? Nope, I didn't. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. It really is like, I still cannot believe that I can't believe the channel had grown that much, to be honest with you. I mean, it hasn't changed the way I look at the channel, the way I feel about the channel, anything. Like, it's still, I guess, fresh in my mind. You know what I mean? Almost like it didn't happen. Neutrino, you missed the first Lot Lizard story. You missed the first one, and there's a connection. Truth Quest! Holy shit! There you are. We were just talking about you. I was like 92, been here, but YouTube blocked my comments. My daughter just done a new thing, so I comment. I've been tuning in. Oh man, we were just talking about you. I'm so glad that you're here. I was worried about you. Dang it. Thank you so much, Craigers. Thank you. Whew. I like it's kind of weird that when subscribers don't show up anymore, you get like kind of like, wait, where'd this person go? Where'd that person go? Like fucking Thunderbolt Lightning. Remember Thunderbolt? I miss Thunderbolt to this day. All Thunderbolt wanted was cryptid spider fucking experiences. That's all they wanted. Do you guys remember Thunderbolt? It's like you guys have become my like family essentially. Yeah, YouTube does that. YouTube does that. Proof, yeah, actually, you're right, Jackwagon. You're right. Well, there is a lot of Wiley. It's not as funny as it sounds. There's a lot of cryptid spiders that there's actually an African legend of a large tarantula spider that's like 2 to 3 feet in like width. It's a fucking monster. But like not like what you're thinking, like arachnid, um, but more or less like strange kind of portal-like creatures that come out and look. Well, thank you, Marcy. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. You guys are so nice. Yeah, I have friends like Jeff Deere. Jeff Deere, the subscriber that um had a face-to-face with Bigfoot, and he was like my age, and he sent me that for my birthday 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And a month later, his wife emails me telling me that Jeff died. And I was just like, wait, what? It's fucking weird. And it's strange because like I don't know you guys in real life, but I know you guys. Caden, we were talking about Caden last week. Hudson Valley, welcome. Welcome. I am not too far from you. Nicole B, it's a Gorillas t-shirt. It just says Pink Rabbit says shoot to ill. Hudson River Valley is a very, very haunted area. A lady named Nancy Zimmerman wrote some amazing books on the Hudson River Valley with like the magnetic there's like a magnetic energy, there's satanic cults and shit, a lot of UFO sightings, really interesting place. Somewhere in America. How are you? Aramic, are you still here? This one goes out to you, Aramic. I want to share my Mothman experience with you. Approximately 5 years ago, I was driving home from my job as a correctional officer in Cook County Jail, Chicago, Illinois. My shift ended at 11 p.m., and it took me approximately 35 to 45 minutes to drive home from work. As I always did, I would call my wife and let her know I was safe from my shift, and typically she would keep me company on my Bluetooth while I drove home. Every night when I drove home, I took the Midlothian Turnpike a few blocks out of the exit off the expressway. Midlothian Turnpike will always lead you to the location of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. As I drove past Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, a figure which I can only describe as a pterodactyl flew over across my car and across the road into the woods on the other side of the street. I screamed as I thought I was going to hit it. My wife, still on the phone, now yelling, asking me what was going on and if I'm okay. I had to get my bearings together, but I was still so scared. I thought about stopping at a gas station ahead, but I knew I was so close to home. When I had gotten home, we got a good laugh about it. 2 days ago, I told the experience to my boss. He asked if I knew what the Mothman was. I had heard of it, but wasn't familiar with the experiences. When I look back now, many things happened that I believe may have been a result of my encounter. I probably won't talk about this again, as I don't expect anyone to believe me, and I don't want to feed it any energy to come back. Thank you for being open minded, guys, and thank you for allowing me to share this with you. Red Cardinal, Red Cardinal, Native Tracker, how are you? It was nice out today. It was beautiful up in upstate. It was like, I don't know. I'm doing well, Native. I'm doing well. Thank you. Um, there's probably like 60 out. But fall is definitely here. Like this is my favorite time of year. How about another vampire story? And then we'll do a Lizzo. I had a very strange experience, and it is bothering me enough that I decided to share it with you all. I feel like I sound crazy sharing this, but it truly happened, and I am scared. Saturday, my husband and I went out for drinks, and there was a band playing. We danced and sang and had a good time, and then Ubered home. My husband was completely wasted when we got home, stumbling, falling. He said he had left the phone at the bar, so I got him into bed and I called the bar to see if they had it, and they did not. A car pulled back up, and I thought it was the Uber with his phone. I went outside to get the phone, but it was the singer from the band. He asked me where my husband was, and I said he had fallen asleep. He then said he had to tell me something. He said he had noticed my energy all night and proceeded to tell me that he was a vampire, not a blood-sucking kind, but an energy soul vampire, and that he could turn me, that I'd live forever and never age. I started to get really scared, and he was sharing a lot of details like past names, past wives, his favorite author from the 1800s, and so on, and said he wanted to convert me and made a loud guttural sucking noise. There's a lot more details, but I don't want to get into them right now. We have a ring camera, and he never showed on the camera, just me. But there is a video of a car leaving. My husband did not wake up until noon the next day, very unlike him. And I told him all of this, and he thinks that it was a dream, or maybe somehow my husband was drugged and we were followed home. It was not a dream. There is footage of the car leaving. I have, however, been having bad dreams since this night and have been restless over the whole situation. This is not something I believe in, but I cannot help but shake the uneasy feeling I have. The alleged energy vampire also said I could not tell anyone he was a vampire without bad things happening. Now, the other day in the upload, I talked about the energy vampires and how they feed off of our fears and stuff. And I said they portray what they think that we will be most scared of, or put us in a situation that we may be scared of. So what that situation essentially, this creature or entity, if it was a energy vampire, essentially put her in a bad situation by showing up to her house saying, "Hey, I'm an energy vampire. I can turn you." Probably scared the shit out of her because she's like, "Oh, I'm fucking shit faced too. My husband's passed out. What's this dude all about? How do you know where we lived?" DL, have a great night. Thank you for coming with us tonight, or thank you for hanging out with us. What's up, Stanslaw? How are you? Thank you. Did you like the I hope you like the Ojibwe Bear Walker legend. That's some amazing stuff, isn't it? Did you find the thesis all right? Lonnie, how are you? What do you think about the increased bear attacks in regards to how many reported Dogman encounters the authorities report? Well, I've been researching the bear attacks for years now, and I'm not an expert. No one is, but the Dogman attacks haven't gone up in um, volume. It's people are sharing more now. If you listen to like the dates when people share dates and stuff, I'd say I would say maybe 5 to 10% of these animal attacks are possibly cryptid or dogman related. 90 to 95 are what they say they are. You just really have to look at how they write them out, how they hide the police report, the autopsy reports. There's a lot of different things. I think there's like one or two this year that I believe could be Dogman, but I think the majority of them are bear. There was two that happened in Arkansas, I think, a month apart. And I know that another YouTuber and researcher who is pretty well versed in other things other than attacks and missing people claimed that the second one sounded fishy to him. Neither one of those sounded fishy to me. They sounded like legit bear attacks to me. I don't know. I think that, the hot spot or the hot time for these attacks for me was 2019 to 2022 when the world shut down and people really kind of stayed isolated from everything. And I think that gave these creatures a chance to be more out in the open and start to lose fear of humans, or not even fear, but not care so much. You know what I mean? A lot of it is just if you look at the articles, read the articles, and you can see the lies. They're almost like, hey, I'm fucking lying to you. There's 5 rings. What's up, brother? How about our freaking Dodgers? Mike, how are you, buddy? You better be giving me a fist bump, freaking boom, boom. I know, brother. I wore my Dodgers hat all day. All day I wore my Dodgers hat. I'm friends with him, M. Dane. We're friends. I help him with some of his videos sometimes. There's actually an upload that he did where he thanked me for one of the videos that I helped him with. I got it last week. Last week? No. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. 50 Beowulf? I don't know. I would rather have like a 458 SOCOM. Maybe that's just me and I have one. So I don't want to spend no money on a 50 Beowulf because they're fucking expensive. Mookie. He is a kind dude. Mookie Betts is a kind dude. Very kind guy. His heart is kind. I think you take. Blake, how are you? I just said hi to you now, though, Blake. I didn't see you, though. Pop in. Oh, Ryan, making a sardine sandwich and popcorn. A sardine sandwich and popcorn. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man. Johnny Ohm, thank you so much, brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate that love. The T Wave. Wow, haven't seen you in a while. How are you? I think the only firearm I want right now, the only gun that I truly want is the SOCOM 2. Not the SOCOM 16 and not the Springfield, well, the Springfield SOCOM 2. But I have like a real love for that gun. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. Truth Quest. That's a good the MP Shield. Jane was just here. Jane was in here earlier, Mike. Jane was just here earlier. She had to crash. For pistol, I the MP Shield's nice, real nice. I like the Canic. The Canic 9 is a mean mother. The SX Canic. Chiappa, yeah. Chiappa makes a weird gun too. They make a gun that looks like shit. It looks like my brain just shut off. The M1A. Chiappa makes it's a 9mm and it looks just like a M1A. Yeah, Canics, their guns are freaking sick. The SFX or FXF or whatever, that trigger is nasty. I'd put a Ruger security against a Glock any day. To be honest with you, the Ruger security is a nice gun. And it doesn't like nothing goes wrong with it ever. Do Ukraine ever use human technology and weapons? Wiley, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think they have to. They're a great gun with the Ruger Ruger security. And the cool thing with the Ruger security is if you have the PC carbine, the Ruger PC carbine or the PC Charger, they're interchangeable magazines. So you literally have your pistol and a bunch of mags and another PC Charger pistol or the PC carbine rifle, and you're good to go. Loaded up with Fort Scott munitions rounds, and you're unstoppable. Pew pew. FNs are good. FNs are great. FNs are really good. I don't know. I'm not a gun snob. Like, I'm not a gun snob at all. Like, my grandpa had really small hands, right? And he liked the Taurus because it fit in his hand good. And this is a man that had more guns than a gun store, like unbelievably amount of guns. But the Taurus, it just fit good in his hand. He'd get like his favorite two pistols were his Taurus 380 and the Taurus 9, just because of how it fit in your hand. And I think That's the best thing to do is to get, if it's not a high point, but to get a firearm that has good quality, that you can afford, that fits in your hand, that you are comfortable with. You know what I mean? Like I don't see, I never saw the point of buying a pistol or buying a rifle or a gun if it doesn't feel good to you. You know what I mean? Like it's got to feel good. Just like I made that mistake when I bought the Tombstone, that lever action magazine fed 9mm rifle that just came out like 2 years ago at SHOT Show. I bought it because it looked cool. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I fucking hate that gun. I truly hate that gun. It is a terrible, a weird load. It doesn't cycle well. It's just ugh. The name sounds familiar, Jones Drake. Name sounds familiar. That's cool, Marcy Elwood. Revolvers? No, I want to get a Ruger revolver. I'm partial to Ruger. I like Rugers. I just Rugers are I like Rugers. They're a good gun. I like Springfield. Springfields are great. I love my SIG. Uh for shotguns, I love my Caltech. Caltech's great. Uh the Mossberg Maverick is, my daughter's boyfriend wants to get a Maverick. It looks like the riot shotgun, the fuck, my brain just shut off. The oh my god, the magazine, the collapsible magazine stock, and all fucking law enforcement carries this shotgun brand. Someone help me. Someone help me. Never shot a lever action Winchester. I'm still trying to think of the shotgun that I'm thinking of. The 88, the 88, yes, the 88. I believe it's the 88. But that's a good gun for a good price. Not Benelli. Remington, thank you. Remington, Truth Quest. Yes, you got it. The Remington makes that fucking just like the Maverick. $22. Oh my goodness. Tina Marie. Redbird, how are you? Benellis are expensive as snot, though. They're so expensive. Remingtons are loud. Remingtons are loud. My Stevens is a great gun. Stevens are great. And they're made by my brain just keeps shutting off. Mossberg. Stevens I have no issue with Stevens. You can pick up a great Stevens 12 gauge for like $150 and you've got a really nice gun. Mossbergs are I sold prior to my divorce. When I was living here and my wife had the girls before I got them. I was paying her rent and living here. And the last month that I paid her rent, I had to sell two of my guns and I was so mad. I had a Stag AR-15 that I liked a lot, but I wasn't going to sell my SIG. And I had the Mossberg Shockwave, and I had to sell both of those to help her pay her rent. And I kicked myself in the ass for selling the Shockwave because right after, holy shit, Redbird, thank you so much. Wow, thank you so much. That's right, Savage makes Stevens. Thank you, Lycan Claw, thank you. Wow, Redbird, thank you very much. That is so nice. Wow. Well, this one goes out to you, Redbird. This one goes out to you. I have only shared this experience with one other person for the fear of being called crazy, but here goes nothing. For the sake of privacy, I cannot disclose the exact location of this, but I will say that it was in northern Illinois in the spring of 2020. During COVID lockdown, my partner at the time was working overnight security for a property he had worked on. As they were not open to normal visitors, I would often go out to have dinner with him and keep him company for a few hours, and drive the same route that I would take to his house during the daytime hours. All that to say, I am very, very familiar with the area and drove this route multiple times a week. One night, I was heading back home from his job site. It was around 12:30, and I was driving down a main or major road with other traffic in both lanes. There is a stretch of this road that is between the bar row and the convenience cluster. Convenience cluster and bar row. About 3/4 of a mile with less buildings, less lights, mostly entrances to neighborhoods and a few parks. As I was passing the stretch of one of these parks, I noticed that the car in the oncoming lane had slowed almost to a stop, 45-mile-an-hour zone, which is what originally caught my attention. Then I noticed a dark shape moving in front of the headlights, eventually passing into my lane, before passing the edge of the guardrail and continuing down a small hill into the darkness of the park. It was around 8 to 10 feet in height, black with shaggy, clearly covered in fur or hair. It walked on two legs, which I could see bent wrong at the knee, like a dog, and I could see two arms with long fingers. It had a slight hutch to its back, a large head with an extended muzzle. All in all, a pretty typical image you'd normally see a Dogman or Beast of Bray Road. Think cheesy movie werewolf meets shaggy German Shepherd. It was over so quickly, and I didn't even fully process what I had seen until I started driving again. This thing was not running or anything, just walking with unnaturally long strides across the two-lane road. As soon as I realized what I had just seen, I called my partner, and he had me describe it in as much detail as possible. Part of the reason that I still remember with so much detail. We go out to the park the next day looking for prints, as it had been raining the day before and the ground was quite muddy. We maybe saw one or two imprints that looked like they could have been large paw-like prints, but nothing clear enough to photograph or cast. Thank you. Is it time? Is it time? Part two. Part two of the lot lizard. Let's see if you guys remember there's a connection tonight. So for all of you that didn't catch the first lot lizard story, Earl the trucker was killed by a giant that came down from a beanstalk that Jack had planted. For those of you that are new to the channel and new to the live stream, I once a week I write these crazy 3 stories called Lizzo the Lot Lizard, the Ultimate Cryptid, and this is part 2 of Lizzo's struggles. The Greasy Spoon Oasis wasn't just a truck stop, it was a kingdom, and its queen in all her sequenced bedazzled glory was Lizzo. Her throne was a worn vinyl booth by a spluttered coffee machine. Her subjects were weary truckers nursing lukewarm cups of joe, and her royal court comprised of various lot lizards, each with their own unique brand of highway glamour. Lizzo, all in cheetah print jumpsuit and enough gold jewelry to sink a small dinghy, surveyed her domain. Another beautiful night at the edge of nowhere, she declared. Her voice a rich, soulful rumble that could soothe a crying baby or make a grown man reconsider his life choices. Besides, translucent shimmer formed, resolving into a bewildered face. Earl. Earl, Lizzo's spectral boyfriend, had met his demise years ago under the colossal boot of what he could only describe as a really, really big fella, now a permanent fixture. He floated slightly above the ground, often bumping into the ceiling fans or phasing through coffee cups. Sure is, honey, Earl sighed, a gust of cold air passing through the sugar packets. Though I could use a little less diesel fumes and a little more, well, anything that isn't the smell of despair and burnt toast. Just then, the usual grumble of 18-wheelers was piercing by an otherworldly hum. It was a distant wall of siren, nor the groan of a dying engine. This was the sound of 1,000 opera singers gargling crushed glitter. Outside, above the flickering neon sign that read, "Eat gas, sleep, maybe," a craft descended. It wasn't sleek or terrifying. It looked more like a giant chrome-plated disco ball with a slight dent in one side, radiating a faint violet glow. The truckers, usually unflappable, spilled coffee in a gape. A ramp extended, glowing with an alarming fuchsia light, and down it glided a coterie of figures. They were classic gray aliens, bulbous heads, large black eyes, spindly limbs, but these were not your typical abductors. Each was adorned with a single, perfectly placed feather boa, a dash of glitter on their cheekbones, and what looked like tiny iridescent pastes. Leading them, I think I meant tiaras, but iridescent tiaras. Leading them was the alien, impossibly tall and scrawny. Its gray skin stretched taut over its frame that seemed designed for a different galaxy entirely. It wore a tattered, sequenced gown, a wig piled high like a distressed pink cotton candy cloud, and a mouth formed a precise thin line, painted a startling cherry red. It was Bette Midler, if Bette Midler had forgotten to eat for a century, inhaled from Zeta Reticuli. Bette Midler alien glided towards Lizzo, its large black eyes fixed on her with an intensity that transcended species. Terrestrial queen, it rasped, the voice sounding like a rusty hinge trying to sing show tunes. We are the intergalactic drag show extravaganza of Sector 7G, and we have traveled light years to borrow you. Lizzo put down her coffee mug with a decisive clink. Borrow me for what, honey? You ain't taking my last slice of pumpkin pie, and you sure ain't touching my hair before I've had my morning spray. The alien gestured grandly with a bony, glitter-dusted hand. Your pizzazz, your aplomb, your masterful blending of contour and highlight. Our current stylist, Gorgon, thinks suitable is a shade of neon green. We require your experience, your whatever to elevate our performance for the Galactic Grand Prix of Glamour. Earl sputtered. A translucent pume of ectoplasm escaped his mouth. They want to kidnap you for styling tips, Lizzo, honey. This is a new one. One of the smaller boa-wearing aliens produced a shimmering iridescent net. Resistance is futile and unpleasing. Lizzo was not having it. Listen here, you intergalactic show ponies. Nobody kidnaps Lizzo for makeup kit. I got a kingdom to run, and these truckers need my wisdom and my gravy recipe. But before she could unleash a truly epic tirade, the net was thrown. It shimmered around her, not trapping her physically so as much beaming her. Lizzo, with a bewildered yell, My good wig vanished upward, accompanied by a faint smell of ozone and, well, cheap hairspray. The truckers roared in outrage, but the aliens, clearly unfazed by terrestrial anger, simply ascended back into their disco ball craft. Earl, phasing helplessly through the ceiling, cried, "Honey, I'll be right there. I think I can't open doors." Inside the UFO, it was less a spaceship and more of a chaotic backstage area. Racks of costume in bizarre fabrics hung swaying. Makeup palettes the size of serving trays sat next to bowls of what looked suspiciously like scented glitter. Lizzo landed with a thump on the stage covered in sticky alien goo. "All right, look," Lizzo said, dusting off her jumpsuit. "I appreciate the flattery. I really do. But I ain't nobody's makeup mule. And for the record, Glorgon ain't completely wrong. A little subtle can be nice when done right. But your problem ain't subtle, it's clash." Her gesture around the gaudy, ill-matched interior. Bette Midler, alien, who introduced itself as Masque Bazaar, narrowed its black eyes. "We apprehended you for solutions, not criticisms." "Well, you paid for the whole show, honey," Lizzo retorted. "And the solution is you need to learn about color theory and basic blending. And where are your good brushes? These things look like toilet scrubbers." Bazaar let out a shriek that rattled the control panels. "Insolence! You will comply or you will forever wear only earthly tones." That was it. Earth tones, Lizzo's final straw. No queen of sparkle and sass would stand for such a threat. "You want to fight, Buttercup? Bring it." The battle began. It was not a fight of brute force, but of sheer, unadulterated chaos, and Lizzo, empowered by her indignation, grabbed a can of industrial strength hairspray, courtesy of a thoughtful alien who thought it was perfume, and blasted a trio of aliens gluing their feather boas to their face. She swung a gigantic sequenced clutch that was meant for the alien drag queen, knocking over a rack of costumes that collapsed into the drag queen, Bette Midler, or Masque Bazaar, burying it in a mountain of iridescent ruffles. Earl, meanwhile, finally phased through the UFO's hull. He couldn't touch anything, but he found he could mess with the ship's electrical currents. Lights flickering, holographic makeup tutorials glitched on the psychedelic patterns, and the fog machine suddenly roared to life, filling the interior with an eerie, glittery mist. "You're messing with the wrong queen," Lizzo yelled, using a giant powder puff to fend off the small alien trying to squirt her with alien cosmetic glue. She kicked off one of her impossibly high heels, sending it spinning through the air, deadly and bejeweled projectile that short-circuited the control panel. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the disco ball UFO began to wobble violently. Bette Midler emerged from the costume pile, its wig askew, its face smeared with alien glitter. "She's destroying the ship. The Grand Prix of Glamour is ruined." Lizzo, seeing an escape hatch marked with a suspiciously familiar exit sign, perhaps universal concept, made a dash for it. The UFO bucked and juddered, the engine sputtered. Earl, with a burst of ghostly energy, surged through the main console, causing a cascade of explosions that were more glitter bombs than actual destruction. "My ride is here," Lizzo bellowed, kicking open the hatch. Below, the truck stop looked tiny, but welcoming, not waiting for a beam, but simply jump. It was less a grateful descent. It was less graceful descent and more glorious, sequenced pummel, accompanied by a faint, horrified wail of Bette Midler. She landed with a spectacular splash in a puddle of dubious origin. Right in front of her assembled terrified and now cheering subjects. The disco ball UFO sputtered like a dying firefly, limped lamely into the pre-dawn sky, leaving behind a faint trail of sparkling dust and a single pink feather boa. Lizzo, soaked by triumphant, adjusted her now damp cheetah print suit. "Y'all okay?" she asked, a little out of breath. Earl, floating beside her, looked relieved. Honey, I thought they were going to make you wear pastel grays forever. Lizzo shuddered. Don't even joke about that, Earl. Don't even joke about that. She looked up at the retreating, sputtering alien craft. Now, she declared, turning back to her subjects, her voice regaining a rich, regal tone. About that gravy recipe. The truckers cheered, the lot lizards applauded, and the greasy spoon oasis returned to its regularly, wonderfully weird brand of normal. Lizzo, the lot lizard queen of the truck stop prostitutes, had successfully defended her kingdom, her style, and her right to wear whatever fabulous glitter ensemble she damn well pleased. And she had a story that would make even the most jaded long haul trucker blush. Poor Earl. Earl's still dead. Jager 187, how are you, my friend? It is kind of hard not to love Lizzo, right? Ugh. There we go. They were stuck there. They were stuck. I remember that tree scene. Lizzo's definitely got moxie. San Fran Bay, have a good night, my friend. I just still can't believe Lizzo's dead. Or Earl's dead. Tigger, let me see. Hang on. Let me see if he's out here. Boy. He might come. Bye. He might not come. Oh, it's cold out there, though. Because 20 bucks is 20 bucks. There you go, DB Mac. That one was for you, my friend. It's colder here. I bet you it's cold in Nebraska. I bet you it's 47 in upstate. Lizzo, I don't know if Lizzo could take down a Dogman. I think Lizzo would try to cuddle with the Dogman. Cop is definitely out there tonight, John Sumner. Red Cardinal got the song. Red Cardinal got the song. First guess. A little bit of gorilla action. That wasn't bad either. That sounded pretty good. Doing gorillas on a shofar. What the fuck? How fucking weird is that? Oh, I hope it gets minus 40 soon. Oh my fuck. I'm going to bring my laptop into the garage with the motion sensor lights. Timing was great. Yeah, it was good. I can't believe the timing was that good. Lizzo eats Dogmans for dinner. I like cold weather. I just don't like when it's like ass freezing cold. Like I don't know. I don't mind snow blowing. Like I like to snow blow. You just gear up for it. But hiking when it's like 50, when you can wear like a nice pair of fucking heavy pants and a hoodie, you're good to go. Oh, I love that. I would love to just, if it could stay that weather year round, if it could stay 65 and below, 65 to 45 year round would be like the greatest weather ever. Greatest weather ever. We have some shitty weather in the Adirondacks, Blake, but not as bad as Minnesota. I've seen freezing winters in Minnesota on TV, and it is cold. Yeah, and sunny. Or when it's like just a hazy, cloudy, like, you know, I don't know. It was like that the other day, and it was just like it was almost like a nostalgic feeling. I was driving, where was I going up to Lake George, and it was just like, oh, this is so nice. Who has an accent, 59th? Adam, I can't blame you on that one, buddy. Minnesota has bipolar weather. I imagine I have never thought about Nebraska in its weather, but I think I'm going to start to look at it. I like 20-degree weather. Oh my lord. I can walk to my work too, Blake. I usually just walk out my bedroom to my office and I work right here or downstairs. Yeah, the cop is out there tonight, Maggie. Ohio? Ohio doesn't get too cold, does it? I mean, it can't get as cold as like upstate, right? Or like anywhere else. I thought Ohio is like south of me, so it's a little warmer, right? Keeps me stomping. My dad saw a lot of weird stuff in the Navy, especially in Vietnam. He was part of the Brownwater Navy. I think he liked that better than when he worked for the Department of the Navy, though. I think he liked, I don't know. We get around 30 inches of snow in Nebraska. Holy shiznizzle. That's, I think winter just sucks in general. Special glasses. My dad was a gunner on the riverboat. Thank you, 59th. I love my dad too. We had to put the truck away. I rented my dad a spot. Like we used to park the truck. He bought a truck when he got out of the Navy and then went to the Department of the Navy. He bought a 1971 pickup truck, brand, and he has had that truck since I was born in 76. So I only remember that truck, and he always would drive it to work back and forth when we moved up here. And when he retired from the paper mill, because once he retired from the Department of Navy, he was 42 and then went to work for the paper mill up here. until he was 65. So he restored the pickup truck. And now, because of everything that happened 2 years ago, he can't drive it because it's 3 on the tree. So he can't, his legs aren't strong enough to push in the clutch anymore. And it was so funny because my dad's driving his car, and my dad has never heard his own truck driving down the road. Well, he wasn't in it. And he's got this, my dad's got this 2002 Subaru Outback LL Bean Edition. He bought that new too. Fucking loves this thing. I call it Mario Kart. And we're on this straightaway, and my dad goes like this out the window. He goes. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll pass him. So I'm in third gear, going like 50, and it's only 3-speed, but it has a cammed engine in it, and it's got the steel gears. So I downshift to second, and I just blow by him, and you could just hear the fucking truck go. It's just a beast. And I upshift to third, by him, and he was like, I looked at him, and he had this big smile on his face. His whole face was a smile. And I don't think there's anything better that I've ever seen in my life. Was like that smile, you know? He was just like so happy. It's so funny. Good night, Maggie. I am so glad my dad is with us too. He's a true American. He's such a dick though. I fucking love him. I miss ignition. The stress and fun of driving. World War II. No kidding. My grandpa was in World War II. The only thing we know about my grandpa was he was in Africa in a tank thing fighting. I think it was Himmler, the tank guy, the German tank guy. I think all dads are goofy. I think my daughters think I'm a goofy prick at times too. There's like, your dad, my dad is such a goofy prick. Anyway, I'm driving from work this past Wednesday night, 10/8/2025, and before I could pull into my parking spot, a creature I'm hoping was a bear ran out in front of me and into my neighbor's yard. I thought it was a bear because I live in Western Pennsylvania and black bear are super common this time of year. But the more I think about it, the more I doubt it was a bear. It was black or a darker color because it was nighttime, and it had really long arms and legs and a short torso. It was running on both arms and legs, but its back was hunched like it could stand up and walk on its hind legs if it wanted to. It didn't have a snout like a bear. It kind of reminded me of a big long ape of sorts. I looked up a bunch of stuff about bear, especially in the area, and I'm not even starved teenage black bears don't look like this, what I saw. It's really bothering me because it was right by my own house. I tried to give as much detail as I can remember, and I really wish I had gotten a picture, but I was driving and it all happened too quickly. Anyway, I've never really been into supernatural stuff, but I am at my wit's end trying to figure out what this thing was. The way he describes it, it sounds like a Bigfoot to me. No snout. It looked like a large ape. It's running on its hands and feet. Bigfoot run on their hands and feet occasionally. Yeah, it sounds like a Bigfoot to me. The helix. Oh shit, Cowboy 5 rings. Hang on a second. I think I got a Black Eyed Kids one in here. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this one. All right, here we go. This one is creepy. This one's creepy right here. My daughter Emma just turned 5 in September. She's always been a normal, happy kid. Good imagination, but nothing concerning. About 2 months ago, she started having trouble sleeping, didn't want to go to bed, kept saying that she didn't like her room. We thought maybe she saw a scary movie at daycare or something. Then she starts to draw pictures, just with crayons, normal kid stuff, but all the pictures were of the same thing: her room, her bed, and a tall man standing in the corner. At first, I thought it was cute in a creepy kid way. Asked her who the man was. She said the man is who watches her sleep. My husband and I laughed it off. Creepy, but kids say some weird shit, right? She keeps drawing him every single day, same tall man, always in the corner of her room. She started adding details: long arms, no face, just a blank head, very thin. She told me that his name is Mr. Tall. She said he comes every night after we turn off the lights. We tried everything: nightlight, keeping her door open, letting her sleep in our room. Nothing worked. She said Mr. Tall followed her. Last week, she came to breakfast with dark circles under her eyes. Said Mr. Tall was standing closer to her bed now, that she could hear him breathing. My husband thought maybe she was having nightmares from the drawings. So we took her away. We took away all her art supplies, no more pictures. She had a complete meltdown, screaming that we don't understand, that drawing him is the only thing that keeps him from touching her, that if she draws him, he stays in the corner. What the fuck kind of thing is that for a 5-year-old to say? We gave her crayons back immediately, and she drew a picture right away, him standing right next to her bed this time. 2 nights ago, I'm putting her to bed and she's crying, begging for me not to leave. I told her there's no man in her room, that it's her imagination. She looked at the corner and whispered, "He's right there, right now." I looked at the empty corner and told her nothing was there. She started shaking. "He's staring at you." I tried to stay calm, told her that I'm going to sit with her until she falls asleep. She would not close her eyes. She just stared at that corner for an hour until finally passing out from exhaustion. Last night, my husband was working late. I was in bed at around 11 p.m. when I heard her crying. I went to her room. She's sitting up in bed, pointing at the corner, the same corner from all her drawings. "Mommy, he's so close. He's reaching for me." I turned on the light. Nothing there, but Emma was hysterical, screaming that he's still there, and the light doesn't make him go away. I picked her up to bring her to my bed. As I turned to leave, I felt it, a cold spot, like walking into a freezer. Just that one corner of her room was ice cold. I got Emma out of there as fast as I could. I put her into my bed and locked our bedroom door. I know that sounds stupid, but I didn't know what else to do. Around 2 a.m., I wake up. Emma was asleep next to me. I needed to use the bathroom. I opened my bedroom door and looked down the hallway towards Emma's room. There was someone standing in her doorway. Oh, fuck, I just got cold chills. There was someone standing in her doorway, tall, impossibly tall, had to be 7 feet, thin, arms way too long. His head was wrong, like it was there, but I couldn't focus on it. Every time I tried to look at it directly, my eyes couldn't hold the image. We stared at each other for what felt like hours, but was maybe 30 seconds. Then it stepped backward into Emma's room and disappeared. I slammed my door shut, sat with my back against it until morning. When my husband came home, I told him everything. He thinks I'm stressed and sleep deprived, that I'm feeding into her nightmares. But I swear I saw it. I saw it. Emma won't go back into her room. She's been sleeping with us for 2 days. Last night, I found her in the kitchen at 3 a.m. with her crayons. She was drawing again. I looked at the picture, and it was our bedroom, our bed, and Mr. Tall was standing at the foot of it. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "He's not staying in my room anymore, Mommy. He's following me now." I don't know what to do. My husband thinks that we need a child psychologist. My mom suggested getting the house blessed. My friend said we should move. But what if moving doesn't help? What if she's right and he follows her, not to the house? Has anyone experienced anything like this? What do I do? How do I protect my daughter from something I can't even explain? I'm actually typing this in my car. My daughter is with my husband right now. I told him that I'm getting groceries, but I'm just too scared to be in that house. I saw it. It was real. And it is after my daughter. Fuck that. I literally, my arm hair is sticking up. Oh my God. I'm just glad that I'm glad that that mother saw that thing because now she knows that it's there and real. That's exactly right, Sharon. That is exactly right. You know what's even creepier though? Here's something that's scary. Is I saw the rebuke it in the name of Christ. Um, I have heard experience. I was reading the memoir of Malachi Martin, and he's of course the Jesuit exorcist priest. Mr. Haunted, very good friends with him before he was killed by Old Scratch. He said that there are demons on the earth that do not run from the name of Jesus, that they are just too powerful. Which how do you then fight that? How do you then fight something that does not or is not afraid of Jesus's name? Like, can you at that point? Bless the house, maybe bring in a priest and a shaman, maybe both. I honestly, that's what I just said, Jason. Father Malachi Martin, if I don't know if you know who he is, but he's in the movie Hostage of the Devil. He said that there are demons that do not and are not held by the name of Jesus. Honestly, pick the book up. He was actually killed in a exorcism right after. He went to this exorcism. There was this little girl. She was like 4 or 5, right? And he pulls up. He gets a call. He's done thousands of these. He's done them with the Warrens. He's done them with everyone. Pulls up to this house, random fucking house. He picked it. He said, I want to go to the house first. I want to bless the house. I want to get the house set, right? The family was supposed to be there an hour and a half after he got there. He wanted to have the whole place set for him to do battle. He shows up and the family's already there. And the little girl looks at him and he knew, talks to the parents. The parents said that she wanted to come early. And he's like, oh, he knew instantly. They go in, they do the exorcism, and it gets really bad. It gets crazy. And at the end of everything, after all of the whole ritual of the exorcism, they think it's over. Even he thinks it's over. He walks the family out, and the mom and dad get in the car, and the little girl looked at him, and he said, the face that she gave me was not a face of a 5-year-old. It looked like almost like this. It gave him the demon using the little girl seductive like smile and a look, and it scared him to his core. On the way home, he got a ride on the way home, he's driving with the guy, and he's like, I have never seen anything this strong. He's like, this is this is this is the devil. This is Old Scratch. That's what he called the devil. He goes home. He makes a cup of tea. He has dinner. He calls a few people. As he is late at night, he gets up onto a stepping stool to get a book, a religious book from how to, old text. He gets pushed. Something pushes him off the stool, and he falls, and he dies. But before he doesn't die, before he tells what happened, I did not fall. He's like, I was pushed, and died shortly thereafter while in the hospital. So, like, imagine that. Like, the Jaeger, it's Father Malachi Martin. Hostage with the Devil is the book and the movie. The movie is on YouTube. You can watch it free on YouTube. And Mr. Haunted's in the movie. He's in it like 4 or 5 times, talking about his friendship with Malachi Martin and stuff. Just look for Jimmy Petanito in the movie. But it's Hostage with the Devil, and it's there. Yeah, to the devil, yeah, or with the devil. I don't know. He worked. Malachi knew my uncle, that is a priest in Connecticut, who is still a priest in Connecticut to this day, Father Nadolny. It's in the movie. He had conflicting things as a Jesuit. He was a Jesuit, and he was just there was a lot of confliction in his belief. Never faltered. He was very strong in his belief. But it's an amazing movie. The book is even better, to be honest with you. The book is way better. But yeah, my uncle actually did a few had worked with him 2 or 3 different times. So it was interesting. It was interesting to hear. I heard a lot of what the movie doesn't say and what the book doesn't say from Jimmy, because Jimmy knew him. And there's a point in the movie where Omega, welcome. Meet Bigfoot or Mothman. Meet Bigfoot or Mothman. I'd rather see Mothman than Bigfoot. There's a point where Malachi Martin is in one of the Warren studies. And this is, back when the Warrens weren't known. And he looks at Jimmy, and there was a visual connection. The lecture goes on and it ends. And he walks up to Jimmy, and he starts talking to Jimmy, and he says, there's a strong connection. You're very strong. You're very, very powerful person, da, da, da. And he goes, I think you're the strongest person in this room, to Jim, Mr. Haunted. And he's like blown away. It's in the movie. I honestly, after the live stream, I would literally say watch the movie because it is truly a game changer. It is amazing. When I was a little kid, my sister and I shared a room. We had bunk beds. I had sleep paralysis and nightmares a lot. I'd also feel something in the room every night that I could not see. Sometimes I'd see a shadowy humanoid figure, usually during sleep paralysis or right after, and I eventually learned to self-soothe and tell myself monsters are not real. As an adult, I know it's a common phenomenon to hallucinate during an episode. One night, I had that feeling that something was there again, but it was much more intense and definitely felt different. It took me a while to calm down. I never cried. I was never vocal or anything, just terrified. Shortly after I was able to calm down, I hear my sister crying on the bottom bunk. I didn't say anything, but I was put off by her crying. She eventually climbed up to the top bunk, still crying, to hug me. I started crying too because I thought she also felt whatever was in the room. We both hear a low, loud growl. It did not sound like an animal, it sounded more like a monster. We both look at the entryway for the bedroom and see a humanoid, shadowy figure with red eyes crawling over the threshold of the door. And my sister and I scream. As soon as we scream, we heard our dad running to us from his room, and the figure turned around and left. Both of us were telling him what we saw, especially pointing out the red eyes. He told us it was the light from the hallway. There was no light, and he did not hear the growl. We never talked about it until I was 14. I dismissed it as another bad dream or something that didn't happen. When I was 14, sleep paralysis and hallucinations came up in a family conversation, and I mentioned that one particular incident. My sister said, "Wait, I thought that was a dream." I asked her what she remembered, and she recalled exactly how I remembered it, so I know at least that was real. For more context, we lived in an abusive household. There was a lot of bad things happening. My dad was abusive towards me and my mom, but never laid a hand on my sister for some reason. With sleep paralysis, I learned if I woke up like that, I'd either have to fight to fully wake up and that bad feeling would linger a while, or if I didn't fight, I would have a bright orb with rings and eyeballs snatch me the moment I fell asleep and dark into the very lucid dream. It also would tell me not to be afraid in a booming but gentle voice. Seraphim. It's taken me to places I'd gone to as an adult, even countries with terrain I didn't know about at the time. And while I couldn't see in those dreams, it was next to me the entire time and talking to me. I'd ask if I was dreaming and it would say yes. I'd ask if I could wake up and it would say not yet. And when the dream would come to an end, it'd finally say that I could wake up. And when I'd wake up, I'd feel safe. I didn't know it until I was an adult, but I found out that the orb was a biblical description of an angel. I didn't think to be I didn't think about that not being afraid statement because I was going to church every Sunday as a child, and it could have been something in my mind I'd made up. I also had only seen statues and typical descriptions of angels, human looking with wings, until I was an adult. So I know that was an angel, at least, not pushing that into others to believe, but that was my experience, and I know what I experienced. Dude, that's crazy. She described a seraphim with the eyes and the wings. Eee. Eee. That's so cool. It was not fun. I can imagine that not being fun, Blake. The seraphim they weren't scary, the way they're described, they were closest to God. Um, they're described as like a ball, like an orbish ball with a bunch of eyeballs all over them. I wouldn't doubt it, Jonathan, especially a child. That's like saying you doubt, like, I don't know, a ghost would fuck with a kid, or something. Well, I wouldn't doubt it, especially a child that was going to church and was being terrorized by a demon. There's weird shit that can happen. You know what I mean? But yet, like, here's the fact. I remember talking to. I called a priest like a year ago, and I had a conversation about. I had a conversation about a bunch of stuff, and he said the weirdest thing to me because I had asked him questions about, like, I brought up Saint Christopher, and I was like, well, is Saint Christopher depicted as a dog-headed person because he was from Canaan, and Canaan is supposedly where the Anakim or descendants of the Nephilim had went. And he said to me, and it was so weird because I always thought, like, at least they'd have some answers more. He said that it's all in how you see it and how you feel it. He said it's there as a guide in how to live as he would want us to live, but it's interpreted how we interpret it. And that's why God gave us free will and our brain. And I was just like, you're a priest. You shouldn't be saying this to me. Like, I was like, what? I don't think Saint Christopher was Moloch. I think he was a Cenocephaly, and it makes sense that he would be a Cenocephaly because where the tribes of the Cenocephaly supposedly lived were on the coast of India and on an island off of India's coast. And then eventually they were pushed further into the mountains and such by humans, because we traded with them forever. Nefarious was a great movie. Oh, thank you, Neutrino. I think just Cenocephaly is just Dogman. It's essentially Dogman. It's an old name. It's an old term for Dogman. That's what I believe. I didn't get it, SDL. I did not get it. And people, like, I think it's interesting, like, the people that make videos on Cenocephaly, they don't, like, when I did my video on it like 2 months ago, but at the end I tied it into modern day Dogman, and I pretty much said, like, we learned from all of these travelers that had supposedly seen them, all of the ancient writings of them, how they were actually a peaceful group of humanoid that traded with humans, and then eventually humans started to, like, take from them, and we pushed them into the woods. And then I'd say, like, who wouldn't be angry at humans if that was the true history of their kind? That explains a lot and why they kind of despise us and stay hidden in the woods and don't want to be seen unless they want to be seen. I don't know. I never read about that. I never read that a scholar had wrote that. Maybe a Christian scholar, just because they didn't believe in the Christian God, or you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think we do we? Five rings. I don't think we do. Hang on. You got me thinking now. I actually looked it up the other day to see. To be announced. To be announced. Mariners? Think it's the Mariners? No. Maybe. No, it's the Dodgers, Tyler. Dodgers are in the World Series already. I think it would be the Mariners. Either way, it's going to be the first of its kind. It's going to be a badass game. Imagine if we won like last year, 2 years in a row. Good night, Red Cardinal. Thank you for being with us tonight. Lizzo time. This is the last Lizzo story of the night. I hope they do I hope they do a three-peat. That'd be sick if they won. That's funny, SP Foundation. I did a video about Phil Schneider for tomorrow, so wait until tomorrow. That video that I did about him tomorrow. I think he was a hero, an American hero, like Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper, Mark Richards, they're all American heroes in my eyes. Three-peat next year, 2026. All right, this is the one that ties all of the Lizzo stories together. Remember, Earl is dead. That is the tie of what ties them all together tonight. The desert air hung thick and silent as the moon began its climb, painting the vast expanse of black with an ethereal silver. For most, it was just another desolate stretch of highway. But for a select few, it was a beacon, a whisper in the darkness, a promise of solace and peculiarity. This was the domain of the Midnight Moat, a truck stop that only materialized when the sun dipped below the horizon. Its neon signage a vibrant, impossible glow visible for miles. The moat wasn't just a place for greasy burgers and lukewarm coffee. It hummed with a magic of old as the stars, drawing in not only weary truckers, but also a menagerie of the strange and unusual, shadowy figures with too many limbs slinking into the scrub. Wisps of spectral light danced around the fuel pumps, and the air vibrated with a low guttural hum that spoke of things not found in any service manual. Presiding over this nocturnal bazaar was Lizzo, the lot lizard queen, not a queen in the regal sense, but in a way a viper coiled in charge of her territory. Her throne was a modified diner stool, her crown a sequenced trucker hat adorned with a single menacing feather. Her legion of lot lizards, a motley crew of humans and occasionally something with a little more scales than skin, patrolled the lot, their eyes glinting with a predatory instinct honed by years of practice. Tonight, however, was different. The usual low thrum of the moat was punctuated by a high pitched, tingling laughter that seemed to scrape against the edges of the darkness. A collective unease rippled through the patrons. The scent of cheap perfume and stale exhaust fumes was suddenly overwhelmed by the cloying sweetness of honeysuckle and mischief. Just then she appeared, a creature of moonlight and malice, no bigger than a raven, but radiating an unnerving energy. Her hair was a cascade of iridescent green. Her wings shimmered like dragonfly wings, and her eyes two emerald chips, sparkling with pure, unadulterated trickery. This was Greta Thornberry, a fairy tale with a reputation for leaving a trail of chaos and bewilderment mortals in her wake. Greta, it seemed, had a peculiar fondness for disrupting establishment orders. She fit through the moat, her laughter echoing like the wind chimes in a storm. She swapped the sugar for salt in coffee urns, making a gruff trucker spit out a mouthful of bitter regret. She tied the shoelaces of the hulking beast with four arms together, sending him tumbling into a pile of discarded tires. She even managed to convince a spectral hitchhiker to pay for his imaginary ride in fairy dust. The lot lizards, usual so adept at their trade, were thrown into disarray. Greta would whisper obscenities into their ears, causing them to blurt out nonsensical insults at potential clients. She'd conjure illusions of monstrous spiders and scurrying rats, sending them to the shadows. It was a symphony of pandemonium, and Greta was the conductor. Lizzo watched her from her throne, her face a mask of growing fury, her kingdom, her carefully curated ecosystem of illicit encounters and questionable substances, was being dismantled by a tiny, giggling whirlwind. The truckers, for the first time in a long time, were actually leaving, their engines roaring with alarm. The shadowy inhabitants of the moat were scattering, their usual stoic presence replaced by a nervous scurrying. Finally, Greta, on her high and own brand of mayhem, landed on Lizzo's sequenced hat, her tiny little feet tapping to a rhythm. "Having fun, Queenie?" she chirped, her voice like a needle on a chalkboard. "This place is a riot, so mundane." That was the final straw, Lizzo. With the speed that bellied her ample frame, snatched Greta from her hat. The fairy squeaked, her laughter instantly replaced with a terrifying whimper. Lizzo's grip was like iron, her eyes blazed with a power as potent as any magic. "Mundane," Lizzo growled, her voice deep and resonant, a rumble of thunder in the desert night. "You think this is mundane? You think the struggle, the hunger, and the need that brings people here is mundane?" She squeezed Greta, not enough to break bones, but enough to make her breath hitch. You spent your life causing trouble, playing with lives of others for your amusement. Well, Fairy, it's time you learned real consequences feel like. The moat seemed to hold its breath. The remaining patrons, a mix of terrified and morbidly curious, watched Lizzo held the struggled fairy aloft. You know magic, Lizzo said, her voice softening, a dangerous edge still present. You know how to bend reality, and you've caused enough chaos. Now, you will use that power for something meaningful. Greta, trembling, could only nod, her emerald eyes wide with fear that she had never known. My Earl, Lizzo continued, her voice laced with sorrow that could cut through the bravado. He was a trucker, the best. He loved this moat. He loved me. And then one night, he just didn't come back. He was squished by a giant. But I know he's there somewhere, faded, gone. She leaned in, her face inches from Greta. You will bring him back. You will bring back my Earl, wherever his soul may wander. You will bring him back to me, and you will do it now. Greta, thoroughly humbled and terrified, felt a strange pressure in her chest. She had always reveled in destruction, in sowing discord, but the raw, unvarnished pain in Lizzo's voice was a different kind of magic, a force she had not encountered before. With a sigh that sounded like rustling leaves, Greta closed her eyes. Her tiny hands, no longer wielding mischief, began to glow with a soft golden light. The air around them thickened, charged with an ancient yearning energy, whispers of memory, fragments of a life lived on the open road. The moat's neon sign flickered as if it was anticipation. The strange creatures paused in their movements. The remaining truckers huddled near the diner, watched in a hushed, awestruck silence. Then, from the edge of the lot, silhouetted against the moon-drenched desert, a rumble, a familiar rumble, a trucker's engine, a classic gas guzzler coughed to life, and out of the darkness a figure emerged, a broad-shouldered man, a worn leather jacket, a familiar twinkle in his eyes, Earl. He drove his rig towards Lizzo, his headlights cutting through the night. He parked beside her throne, and the door creaked open. He stepped out, looking at Lizzo with the same love and admiration she had remembered. Lizzo, baby, he said, his voice rough but warm. Took you long enough to call me. Lizzo's face, for the first time in years, broke into genuine radiant smile. Tears streamed down her face, catching the moat's otherworldly glow. She rushed into Earl's arms, her queenly demeanor melted away with pure joy of the reunion. Greta Thornberry, perched on a discarded hubcap, watched them, her mischievous sparkle replaced by a quiet, almost strange understanding. She had wreaked havoc, yes, but tonight, for the first time, she had also brought something back. And as Earl and Lizzo held each other under the watchful eyes of the magical infused truck stop, Greta knew that even the most mischievous fairies could, on occasion, be forced to do a little good. The moat for that night was no longer just a place of commerce and strange encounters. It was a place where love, against all odds, had found its way back home. How about that for a connection? Bringing Earl back. Hell yeah. With Greta Thornberry. I told you they were all connected. Oh, thank you, Hollow. Couldn't leave Earl dead. Couldn't leave him dead. Years had passed, too, by the way. Like, I had pictured years just passing. Good night, Tyler 420. All right, this one is pretty awesome. Sorry, Dylan Brook. Say hi to Sorry, Sari. Redbird, thank you so much. Lot lizards are no joke, man. These dangerous creatures. These dangerous creatures are too dangerous, too malicious. Always charge a lot of money too. I got you, Dylan. So I'm up in the Appalachian Mountains doing some welding work with my girlfriend, and we're staying in a nice but empty house. Behind it is a cave that the owner said had satanic ties or whatever. There is no neighbors or anyone for miles, so things have been a little spooky, but we just thought we were freaking ourselves out because spooky circumstances, nothing's going to happen, right? Well, it's 2:30 a.m. and I just stepped outside to have a smoke. I'm standing on the porch and a fucking bone fell from the sky and landed in front of me. Definitely not going back out there, but like, any thoughts on this? We were going to stay a second night, but now I'm thinking no. People are kind of missing the point. I only mentioned the satanic cave because I wasn't sure if it was part of us just freaking ourselves out. I don't believe in any of that, but the cave really is spooky. And I can see the mouth of it from the window. It's huge. That's not really what my point was, but it's all anyone wants to talk about now. By no means, for miles, at the front of the property is a road, and there is houses across the street and down at the end, but there's still huge yard and long driveways and a creek between us. But what I meant, no one for miles, is because this happened in the backyard and there's nothing but miles of woods and apparently caves all throughout those woods. So, I mean, it wasn't someone playing a trick. And by staying in an empty house, that person who hired me to weld is selling the house. So there's only a couch and a mattress in there. And as for it falling from the roof, trust me, that was my first thought. But I was far away from the roof on the edge of the porch. The porch is a small clearing in the front of a pasture or whatever for when he had goats. So there are no trees or anything above me. Because, yes, I was thinking maybe bird's nest or something, but it didn't just fall off a roof. It was almost like it was tossed from above, because for it to land right in front of me, it had to have been thrown from above, not innocently rolled off of something. I don't really know what to think about the satanic cave or what. I just thought that it being near here gave it a spooky atmosphere. I cannot explain where this bone just came from. So imagine being like, you're in this, like, yeah, there's a house in front of you, but like you said, there's a huge front yard. It was like a pasture for his goats. There's a road, a creek, and a house, a yard too. So it's far, but he's in the back of the porch. It didn't fall off the roof. Just a bone fell from the sky and landed in front of him in the Appalachia. Like, that's fucking creepy. That is scary. Redbird, thank you kindly. I appreciate you. Thank you. Love you too. What's up, George Coker? How are you? All right. I got two more experiences and we'll end the night. Anyone seen a creature with bright glowing blue eyes? While I was camping, I encountered a thing on a late night bathroom run. my partner woke me up asking me to walk with her to the bathrooms as it was pitch black outside and spooky. I stood outside the bathroom with my dog as well and glanced over in the direction of this big grassy field. On the other side of it, of a fire ring, were these bright blue glowing eyes. They were large and widely set apart, low to the ground. At first, it didn't move, and I thought it had to have been a sign or a reflective sticker or something, but then it blinked. I stayed locked onto it, moving my light side to side, and it stayed locked onto me. It did not make a sound. This went on for about 5 minutes or so. When my partner came out, I pointed it out, and she saw it as it turned its head and then looked back and continued to not make a sound but stare and blink. My dog did not react to it nor seem to be aware of it. The following day, I went over to look around to get a judge on the size of whatever it was. From where I was standing, it had to have been at least the size of a large pit bull or mastiff, but it was pitch black beyond its eyes, so I never got a good look at its shape or outline. This was in West/Middle Tennessee in a town called Pinewood off of Piney River. I've heard experiences with Dogman, but I am not sure if this is the same one I encountered in the past. When I was younger, I used a Ouija board. After this, I would see this thing in my house, and it would follow me everywhere. It was extremely tall and was furry with long arms and legs and with a dog-like head. I only really saw it in the dark for about a second, but when I did, looked to have blood on its fur. My cousin, the one I did the Ouija board with, hasn't encountered it, but has heard it. The first time we encountered it together was when we were sleeping in my room, and I hear my door open and my little sister's voice say our names. When I look over, I see it staring at me, but for some reason, I didn't really process what I was looking at and just went back to sleep. Then in the morning, I completely forgot about it until my cousin asked if I heard or saw anything. We have also had many times when we heard it saying our names in our family members' voices. One time, it was coming from the outside our gate in our backyard. At first, I thought it was a coincidence someone had the same name as me and their parents or something was calling for them. Then it gets louder, and I look at my cousin, and she seems to hear it as well. So I ask, and she says it sounds like my sister saying her name and not mine. And I decided to run inside with her. As soon as we went inside, we heard something like laugh but growl at the same time. We were home alone at that point. It was the most terrifying day ever. All right, guys, awesome live stream tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will never, ever touch a Ouija board again. Ever, ever, ever. They're pure evil. Pure, pure evil. Jager, definitely watch it. It is truly an awesome movie. Send me an email and let me know what you think of. Let me know what you thought of it. All right. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. I love you all. And Keith, what's up, brother? And next week, same Jeff time, same Jeff channel. Good night, guys. Thank you.